Hey everyone, this week's movie review is Love Hurts. What makes a good action movie? I think it centers around having a strong but simple inciting incident. A good recent example of this is John Wick. His wife passes, she leaves him a dog, someone takes out his dog, and he gets his revenge. Textbook, but elegant. I bring this up because Love Hurts very much has its eyes on John Wick's homework. Given the movie's first-time director was a stuntman who worked on 3 films in the series, you can see the inspiration. And I don't mind that. If you're gonna copy from something, it might as well be something successful. The issue here is, while the director borrowed the basic premise, crazy stunts, and style from John Wick, he forgot the part that makes all those things work, the setup. Love Hurts starts off simple enough. We get a tiny glimpse into the life of Marvin, who's played by Huy Quan, who works for his Goonies alum Sean Astin as a real estate agent. He has all that wholesome dad energy that he brought to Everything Everywhere All at Once, which has kind of become his staple. Before we really get to know Marvin, a man in a trench coat decked out with knives and quill pens shows up in his office, and they get in a big fight. We learn this man is an assassin called the Raven, who also writes bad poetry. You get it? The Raven? Anyways, it turns out Marvin was actually a hitman too, and he betrayed his brother for a girl named Rose. The Raven wants to know where Rose is, and Marvin takes off to find her before his brother does. Marvin heads home and ends up destroying his house battling 2 more goons. At one point they even shove Marvin into a refrigerator and throw him across the room. It's pretty ridiculous. And after all this, Rose shows up out of nowhere and saves Marvin. We learn that she was framed for stealing money from Marvin's brother, and she's tired of hiding from him, so she wants to fight back. Honestly, as the setup goes, it's not the greatest that I've seen, but I can roll with it. The issue is the movie never really finds its footing. The story is a mess, and while by the end I understood what happened, it could have been presented in a more coherent and honestly interesting way. The pacing and the structure are off. We spend the entire middle portion of this supposed action movie on this paint-by-numbers crime plot, which is randomly interjected with scenes of the Raven trying to date Marvin's coworker. When an action film gets boring, something is going wrong. Everything plays like it's someone's first time, not only directing, but writing as well. The focus is clearly on punching things, and everything else was an afterthought, even the movie's Valentine's Day theme. Everything is framed as a fun, light comedy, but this director has no idea how to time jokes, so most of its attempts at humor just fall completely flat. Marvin and Rose are apparently in love, but despite the film telling us this repeatedly, there is zero chemistry between these two, and their obvious 20-year age difference makes Marvin come off more like a dad to Rose as opposed to some long-lost love. The bad guys all hang out in an arcade/boba shop, which doesn't make them very menacing at all, especially their leader, who has some serious health problems because he is never shown without a boba tea in his hand. And then there's this weird cameo by one of the Property Brother guys. He's supposed to be a rival real estate agent, but he sees these 2 armed gunmen entering a house that Marvin is selling, so he decides to run over there and do lame karate moves on him. It was so random and out of place, and the only reason for this character to be in the movie is so that Marvin has access to a car. Making an action movie is fun. I have no doubts that everybody who made this had a good time, but good times do not translate to a cohesive movie. Instead of focusing on things like how fun would it be to have people fight with giant pieces of silverware, making the lead bad guy use a boba straw as a weapon, or having an actor named Beast Mode yelling beast mode while tackling someone through a wall, they should have first determined if they had a story worth telling. Maybe they should have also cast actors and let these stunt people fill in for them, as most of the performances in this movie outside of Key and Sean are absolutely abysmal, especially the bad guy's right-hand man who spends the whole movie yelling poorly written cool guy lines into his cell phone. Look, I don't think it comes as any surprise that I didn't care very much for Love Hurts. If the action scenes were the jelly on a PB&J, you would have globs on both corners of the bread, leaving nothing in the middle but dry peanut butter. And none of the fights were amazing enough to recommend the movie just for the punch-ups. Key is enjoyable to watch, but his Oscar-winning shoulders can't hold up an entire movie. Maybe if this director worked with better writers, he could turn out something more cohesive. As it stands, this movie is a teenage boy's idea of cool. Sports cars, strip clubs, tough guy one-liners, and a leading lady who narrates to the audience without a shirt on. If you want a movie to watch with basically the same premise, check out Nobody. It's getting a sequel soon, it has a great cast, the action is sparse, but the story and the characters are fun to engage with, so it doesn't really matter. Sorry Love Hurts, but watching you hurts.
I'm feeling great all of a sudden.
But that's just my opinion. Did you watch Love Hurts? If you did, let me know what your thoughts were down in the comments, and I'll see y'all next week.